host John Quatts. Welcome back to our bi-weekly segment. Today we've got our good friend Stephen Chong, chartered accountant, and he's sharing with us some great ideas how to get ready for this year's tax return. Welcome back, Stephen.
Thank you, John.
So let me ask you, we've been going through a list of things people can do to get ready, and we stopped at moving expenses, which was interesting. You're right. People don't really take advantage of that, and we don't realize there's some great opportunities there. But you've got one here, and I always find it interesting, interest expenses, because I think that's so misunderstood. Go ahead.
Anybody borrowing money for their business, self-employed business, or investment into real estate, stocks or bonds, or into their own private corporation, that interest is tax deductible. However, these days, a lot of the loans that people borrow is a general line of credit, and the line of credit tends to be a mixed use, meaning that there's a personal use portion and there's a business.
They're commingled.
Yes, and unfortunately, Revenue Canada is not very tolerant of that. The thing is, Revenue Canada will only allow the deduction for the interest portion of what can be reasonably considered the investment portion and the business portion.
What is the definition of the eligibility for an interest deduction, say, on investments?
Well, the general definition is if the loan and the interest was incurred for the purposes of earning income, you have a deduction.
Right. And now the definition of income is?
Well, income could be business income, could be rental income, could be dividend income, interest income, income from capital gains.
Okay.
That's what you got.
No, I know, that's so interesting. So carry on. Let's go through this list. We've also got in here employment expenses.
Yes, a lot of people who are employed in Canada are limited in their expenses, especially when compared to self-employed people and investors. But the thing is, if your job required you to incur expenses that was not reimbursed by your employer, or the reimbursement from your employer did not cover your actual expenses, you're entitled to a deduction. And most commonly would be for people who are required to use their car to go to a job site or go between one plant to another. Sometimes cell phone use could be considered an employment expense. What has been happening quite often, I guess, in our .com and internet economy is that there's more people working from home, employees working from home. Now, that employee can get a home office deduction if it can be demonstrated that is their primary place of work, meaning, and that means more than 50% of the time is spent working from home. You've got a home office expense. Right. And what you need is a signed Revenue Canada form called a T2200, signed by your employer saying, yes, we did require our employee to work at home. Yes, we did require our employee to use their car in the performance of their duties. And that can be a significant deduction to employees.
It's funny because I don't think a lot of people do that.
You are absolutely correct. Not a lot of people do that, and it is
post-mortem probably.
Yes.
After the audit.
Well, the thing is, and if people are hearing this for the first time, they can file for an adjustment for prior years.
Yeah. And now the other thing is too, in terms of keeping track of the kilometers used, that's, everyone gets in their car, they're busy, they're not always recording every time they go and drive for business. What do you recommend for that?
You know what? What I do recommend is you keep your appointment book.
Yeah.
Everyone has an appointment book, either a physical book or something on their smartphone.
Right.
Actually, it was brought to my attention that I think BlackBerry has an application that actually tracks business kilometers.
See, they have to do that. I was thinking that anything because you're in your car, you're not jotting it down, oh, I drove 10 miles to see, or 10 kilometers to see this client or that client.
And I cannot overemphasize the importance of that because this is one thing Revenue Canada zero ins on.
I'm sure.
The thing is, in the absence of a book a smartphone tracking your kilometers,
Yep.
Revenue Canada will attack you and reduce or eliminate your car expenses.
Isn't that? Will they look at, say, a calendar? If you had a database like an ACT or a Gold Miner that shows all your appointments, would they look at something like that and go, "Oh, yeah, I can see"?
I would say it would be very helpful, but the appointment book, again, the information should support it, meaning that you had the appointment at Markham at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or you drove to Mississauga at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you just put the person's name and not the destination, you have not fulfilled your responsibility.
Interesting point. Wow. And I'm sure, like I said, when the audit occurs, that all this stuff starts to. And I know there's a whole separate show, How to Survive an Audit, which I think we've got to have. But since we're not there yet, we're going to talk about how to get ready for this year's tax return. That's far too ominous, that topic. So carry on.
Well, the thing is, I think, and some of the things that some people are still not aware of, because the issues are still the tax credits are still relatively new, is public transit. You know what? If you have a monthly pass in the municipality you live in, that's eligible for a tax credit. And then if you don't buy the monthly pass, what Revenue Canada says, well, if you buy the weekly pass that covers 4 consecutive weeks, that's the same as the monthly pass.
Right.
Also relatively new is the child fitness tax credit. If you enroll your child in any type of recreational activity, swimming, martial arts, dance classes, and you have the receipt, there's a tax credit available for child fitness.
And people I'm sure, are not aware of that because it's relatively new.
Yes.
Okay.
Still relatively new.
And I want to ask you, parking tickets.
Yes.
What's the deal with that?
Well, the general spirit of the law would suggest any type of fine and penalty is not tax deductible.
Okay. That general spirit would say you did wrong.
Yes, and
that's right.
And you don't get a benefit by writing it off either.
Exactly. Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Let's carry on here.
Right.
Caregiver amount. You refer to that.
Yes, caregivers again is a frequently omitted claim. The thing is, if you have a parent or grandparent living with you over age 65, and their income is low, there is a maximum claim of up to $4,223 available for claiming your parent or relative as a caregiver. And it's significant. And again, if you're not aware of it, you can apply for prior years, and a number of years, the tax refund can be quite significant.
And that person has to be that person is a full-time caregiver, or could it be like a grandparent stepping in on the odd day or here and there? How strict are they with that?
Well, the thing is that actually what you've asked is actually not a criteria. The criteria is that the person's over 65, parent or grandparent, relative living with you, and that person has low income. Essentially, if you're living under the same roof and supporting them, that's enough for the caregivers.
That's enough. So if they're living, and they obviously have to be under your same roof.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to ask. That's clarification. Okay. Medical expenses. This is a good one. Okay.
Right.
What's the? You see, they're all honking outside. They're so excited about it.
Okay.
Including me.
All right.
Yeah.
Medical expenses. People know about it, but the thing is, they don't know what's under the umbrella.
Right.
Every year, it never surprises me when I'm talking to my clients, and they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know my dental expenses are part of medical expenses."
Yeah.
A big one that's missed, people who are employed with large corporations, they are part of an employee health and dental plan. If that insurance premium is deducted from their payroll, the insurance premium is considered a medical expense.
If they're paying for the premium themselves, any portion thereof, or
all of it. Now, the thing is, there are some benefit programs that may include life insurance,
right?
But that is not part of the medical.
We're talking if the employer splits the premium with the employee, then that portion that the employee is paying for is considered tax deduction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The employee portion is, and that is often frequently missed.
Okay. And I'll a little aside here, health savings accounts and health spending accounts. Anything you want to say about those?
That is something that is that's available to, I think, the self-employed.
Yes.
Whereby contributions to certain registered health plans are a tax deduction, and conceptually, it's similar to getting your own private health insurance plan.
Right.
It is definitely worth looking at. I think the benefits are you pay in what you need to pay in.
Yes.
And you're not bound by a fixed private insurance plan with fixed premiums. So there's flexibility there for certain self-employed people.
Great for the orthodontia work that isn't covered by the health and dental
The
plan.
orthodontic is a big one.
Well, so go ahead. Anything you want to say about orthodontia costs? Or
no,
other
it's
than
just
it's a good business.
It's a good business, and it's a big deduction.
Yeah.
I think to further on the medical costs, one of the biggest examples that resulted in a big refund amongst my clients is that one of my taxpayers was not aware that the medical costs incurred outside of Canada is also tax deductible, or at least subject to the tax credit. Because
what was the issue?
Well, the
without
thing is,
breaching confidentiality.
well, the issue was the gentleman had a home here and had a home in Asia.
Yeah.
He spent half the time in Canada, half the time in Asia, and he incurred significant health costs, hospital, private nurse, and dental overseas. Now, but he was smart enough to keep his receipts. We submitted to Revenue Canada, got a big windfall tax receipt for it.
Okay.
One of the changes this year, though, is that cosmetic surgeries, they have further refined the rule or defined the rules to exclude cosmetic surgeries unless it was part of a medical requirement or reconstruction requirement to the individual.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you want to say about healthcare?
I think some of the big expenses in the past would be like laser eye surgery. Mm-hmm. There's a lot under the category of medical expenses. We have an aging population. We're taking care of our parents. Adult diapers are also medical expenses. Our adult diapers is one of the few off-the-shelf expenses that you can get a tax deduction for, because pretty well everything has to be prescribed.
Right. Interesting. And that's that whole, I'm putting on my insurance hat, but that's the long-term care insurance discussion.
Yes.
Which also I know you're privy to.
Yes.
Let's move on. Tuition fees.
Tuition fees are claimable for a tax credit by the student. And if the student doesn't have enough income, up to $5,000 a year can be transferred to the parent. The biggest planning point here is you need the actual official slip called a T-2202 form. Now, a lot of our Canadian universities has wonderful websites that the student can download that form from.
Right.
Now, we also have students who go overseas for their university education, and then you need another form. The Revenue Canada form is called the TL11A form, and it must be signed by the registrar's office of the foreign university. And I highly advise the students and their parents start getting that done now, because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to get it from the foreign registrar's office.
Okay, all right. Anything else you want to say about tuition or university fees or RESPs or?
Well, the RSPs is a wonderful way to build and save for the education. There's no tax deduction for the contribution, and on the collapsing of the RSP, it usually goes on the student's income tax return, and they usually have no taxes to pay.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Anything else you want to say on that topic, or shall we move on to disability?
Well, let's move on to disability. Disability is a big claim. The amount that you can claim is about $7,239. There has been a greater relaxed atmosphere for Revenue Canada to allow what is considered a disability. Okay. Essentially, it still has to be signed off by a health practitioner. But the thing is, it is available. A lot of people don't think it's available or not aware what qualifies. One of the examples is one of my staff was entering receipts for speech therapy from one of their clients' children. I was asking, Why do they need speech therapy? What is the nature of the problem? And upon the inquiry, it was the client revealed their child was autistic. And
that's a huge one.
And then, and the thing is,
expense.
automatically that is considered disability, and there was additional claim for that year and prior years.
Interesting. Okay. On that disabling note, we're going to take a quick break. This is John Klotz, host of Money Talks Media, and we're interviewing our good friend Stephen Chong, chartered accountant. Back in 2 minutes.
Thank you.